Hi, and welcome to the Drama Free Healthy Living podcast. I'm your host, Jess Cording. I'm really excited you're joining me today for this solo episode where we are going to talk about um, high protein lunches. This is something that a lot of you guys have been asking me for in my DMs on Instagram, something my clients often want to know about. And I realized I haven't done a solo episode on this topic. So yeah, I think it's time because this is okay. As I'm recording this, we're in a media cycle where protein is getting a lot of attention. And for good reason, to be honest. As a dietitian, I'm actually very okay with the fact that people are talking about eating enough protein finally. We know that protein is really important for satiety, so helping you stay full. And that is really important for weight management and by extension, metabolic health. We also know that protein supports stable blood sugar. That's part of how it keeps you full. Also, protein is really important for supporting muscle building, repair, and maintenance. And that also is really important for long-term metabolic health and weight management. We also, need protein for, connective tissue and or other tissues, including connective tissue. It's important in so many different body processes and functioning. So it's an important nutrient. Excuse me. So as I'm talking today, this is my first day following a really bad cold that I was dealing with, where I feel like I sound enough like myself to be recording something, but if you hear some little scratches here and there, little coughing, it's just yeah, it got me this year. I don't know. I don't usually get the colds and flus that are going around, but once in a while it does happen, and I have much more to say on that in a future episode. But anyhow, something I wanted to speak a little more specifically about today is how we're going to make those high protein lunches fit into your busy lifestyle. Most of the people that I serve in my coaching work are women over 35. This is a group I have been serving for quite some time and helping them come up with nutrient dense meal and snack ideas that fit into a busy lifestyle. So that said, you don't have to be a woman over 35 to get something out of these tips. But as we're talking, if you're hearing me talking about specific things that are most relevant to that audience, that's just where that is coming from. But okay, I also want to just talk about why lunch matters. Something I've been thinking about a lot lately in my sessions with clients is especially people I'm just meeting for the first time. I am fascinated by the fact that so many people skip breakfast and skip lunch. Or sometimes people do eat breakfast, but then they don't eat anything midday. And some of the reasons, that I most commonly hear from people are they're busy or they don't feel hungry. They're eating a lot at night, so that it takes them a long time to get hungry during the day. Not my favorite for healthy metabolism, but that's probably an episode for another day. But also, I've seen a lot of people trying to practice intermittent fasting but having too narrow of an eating window. I have been seeing that a lot lately. I'm not sure if there's like some influencer stuff circling around that's like making its way through people's feeds, but lately I've been noticing a lot of women who are skipping meals in an attempt to practice intermittent fasting. So I'm here to tell you, as a dietitian, I've been in this field almost 15 years, and when we fuel our bodies consistently through the day, where we're having regularly timed meals and snacks that are providing a good balance of nutrients. It's helpful for metabolic health. It's helpful for focus. It's helpful for energy. It's helpful for mood. I'm a big fan of eating lunch. So like if you're struggling in this area, this episode is for you. So lunch, it plays a big role in helping sustain our energy levels and mental clarity through the afternoon. So if you are someone who is prone to energy crashes that time of day, lunch might be a good thing to focus on. We know it's important for metabolism and muscle support, especially if we're, again, leaning into these high protein lunches or that I'll share with you in a moment. And as we get older, that becomes extra important because we start to lose muscle mass. You honestly, like it starts in our 30s, but begins to pick up and we continue to lose some muscle mass each decade. And there one of the things that we can do to offset that natural tendency towards muscle loss is to eat enough protein to support maintenance of muscle mass. So helpful in that respect. Also, eating a midday meal that provides protein, fiber, and healthy fats, that's also important for stable blood sugar, which is important for reducing cravings and mitigating mood swings, plays a role in keeping hormones in a balanced place, as balanced as they can be as we're going through shifts through the life cycle if we're talking about women. And then, weight management. This is a big one. Like something I see all the time in my practice is if people are skipping meals or eating too little during the day, it's very common to end up overeating later in the day, feeling a combination of physical hunger as well as that sense of, well, I was really quote unquote good all day and I deserve to treat myself. And that can end up working against weight management efforts. So I just wanted to share that, so the why we're talking about high protein lunches. So, okay, what am I talking about when I say high protein? Um, as an RD, I do tend to recommend for someone who's eating 3 meals a day to aim for about 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal to support muscle maintenance and metabolism. If someone is in a pattern where they're eating, maybe just 2 meals a day, and I think for some people that it can be done in a healthy way. It's not right for everybody, but I have worked with plenty of people who that pattern works for them, where they're having 2 main meals and maybe a snack somewhere in there. Um, for that person, I would bump it up to like 35-ish grams, maybe even a little bit more. Um, you'll see different things. I was trained that the body really doesn't absorb or doesn't really efficiently utilize much more than that 35 grams of protein per sitting. So I'm not typically one to tell somebody that if they aim to get 50 grams of protein in one meal, that that's going to be optimal for their metabolic health. I think it is very individual. And of course, we have to keep in mind that different people, different sizes, different activity levels, different phases of life can have different needs. So that's not a one size fits all recommendation. It's more of a general ballpark, but it is a pretty common recommendation that I will give. And then fiber is really important. You're going to get that in veggies, whole grains, legumes, certain fruits. This is good for digestion, supporting gastrointestinal health, aka gut health, and maintaining energy. It's good for our heart. Also keeps us full too. Healthy fats, really important for blood sugar balance and satiety. Also supports healthy brain function, healthy hormones. So don't be afraid to include foods like avocado, nuts and seeds, and olive oil. I see this a lot still with women who, and and I think it depends on which quote unquote diets they followed in the past. I know some are notorious for um, recommending someone limit healthy fats because they're too high in calories, quote unquote, and we need fat. So do not be afraid of fat. It's just something that is really beneficial. And I've seen so many times that when someone who's been avoiding fat starts including some healthy fat, not huge amounts either, we don't have to go overboard. But when they do start including a little bit, they feel so much better. So don't be afraid. And then hydration, that is also something that should be a priority. It's there's so many reasons that someone might not be getting enough hydration. Maybe they're really busy, or they're on the go, or they don't like the taste of water, or they forget to drink. So whatever you need to do to get in that water, herbal tea. You can even incorporate I've had some of my clients have found it useful to use like little flavor packets for water, or if you need electrolyte supplements, like not don't go overboard with that either, but there are ways to incorporate fluid. And then you might also consider sparkling water. That's another one that I find it goes over very well. Um, yeah. And I also think, another priority to keep in mind when we're talking about healthy lunches and, making them part of your routine is that they should be convenient, right? We want meals to be easy to prepare and enjoyable to eat. I always say that, food can be the healthiest food in the world, but if you don't like it, it's not a healthy food for you. You don't have to eat it. Or maybe physiologically it might be healthy, but if you don't enjoy it, that's not worth it. Enjoyment is such a key part of having a healthy relationship with food and an overall healthy diet. So I wanted to share a few easy lunch ideas just so you have a little, something to go on. I'm also going to share some tips for meal prep friendly ideas and some grab and go ideas. So just a few basic ideas. I love Mediterranean themed things. So one of my favorites might be doing something like a chickpea and tuna salad where you take some canned tuna, some chickpeas, some cherry tomatoes, maybe some cucumbers, olives, a little feta if you like. And you can toss that with some olive oil and lemon. Any herbs you want to add. I love that over greens. I think it tastes delicious. You could, if you hate greens, you can skip it. And this is a good make ahead option too. If you leave the dressing off and maybe you wait until you're about to eat to add the tuna. Or sometimes instead of feta and olives, I'll actually add half of an avocado. There's just something I love about the combo of avocado and tuna. I'm not just to my taste bud that tastes really, really satisfying. And if I also sometimes will use like sardines or canned salmon or tinned mackerel. We do a lot of tinned fish in my house. So please feel free to mix it up. But this is a great one to be getting that protein, that fiber, those healthy fats, some veggies, and it takes like 2 minutes to make. You could also do something like an egg and avocado wrap with some scrambled eggs or egg whites, a little avocado. Like I usually say a third to a quarter to a half in a sitting, kind of depending on your needs. You can add some spinach in there if you want. You could add a little bit of feta or goat cheese. Um, and then you can wrap it in, depending on what works for your diet. You could do it in like a whole grain or almond flour tortilla. There's also some really delicious egg white wraps I've tried, which there's something I find really pleasing about the texture of those. I'm very like texture focused. You could do something like lettuce wraps if that works better for you. And if you're trying to work more veggies in, you could always add a little side salad or some sliced like cucumbers on the side. Also another great easy option if you do like a chicken salad, but like a healthier version. This is awesome if you have any leftover like rotisserie chicken, or if you have any leftover like baked chicken or grilled chicken. I also like to make a big batch of pulled chicken breasts in a slow cooker. Like I'll take like a pound or so, or maybe more of chicken, and I'll cook it and then shred the meat, and sometimes I'll freeze some of it for later use, like little single servings, and then have some for the week ahead. When I'm making chicken salad, I love to add Greek yogurt, maybe some Dijon mustard, some celery. If you like crunch, you could add some walnuts in there or sunflower seeds. My husband likes to add chopped up apple to his chicken salad. I know it's like a very traditional one. You could totally do something like that. I like adding turmeric just for extra nutrients. So this is delicious like in like lettuce wraps or lettuce cups. I'll toss it into salad sometimes, or you can enjoy it on whole grain toast, maybe with some greens on the side. For my plant-based friends, I actually am a big fan of whole soy for women. Only, so why I like it, studies actually have very consistently shown that regular intake of whole soy like tofu, tempeh, edamame has actually been linked to reduced risk of breast cancer and heart disease. So I'm very cool with my ladies including these foods in their diet. Only time I would not do it would be obviously if someone has an allergy to soy. That's a big one. But also, if someone has Hashimoto's thyroiditis or a similar condition where soy may be contraindicated, that's when I would say, okay, maybe don't do the soy. But I love doing like some marinated tofu with edamame, along with maybe some shredded carrots and purple cabbage, and like you can do like a sesame ginger dressing, or I love making a miso tahini dressing. Also super easy and delicious. So that's another great option for like a bowl kind of vibe. Or you could do something like a lentil soup. When I am making soup, especially if it's a plant-based soup, like lentil soup or like a veggie and bean soup, I love cooking it in bone broth. Because that's, if we're doing the chicken or veggie broth, we're maybe getting 1 or 2 grams of protein per cup. But if we're doing bone broth, we're getting like 9, 10 grams per cup. So that's a really convenient way to add extra protein to a soup. Um, and I like to do like one of my favorites is like a soup and salad combo. Like growing up, going to tons of diners in New Jersey, that was like always my order. It's still one of my favorite food combinations on the planet. It's like both delicious and nutritious, and also just like very like for me very nostalgic and comforting. And both soups and salads are a super easy way to just pack in a lot of nutrients. So When I'm making lentil soup or any soup for that matter, I like to add in as many vegetables as possible. Just load it in there, make it super hearty. And what's awesome about soup is you can have a big batch for a few days. You can freeze portions. It's really budget friendly too, which is great because something I see happen in the nutrition space is sometimes when it's like we're talking about high protein, um, it's often like really expensive things that are talked about, like organic meat, organic poultry, and grass-fed meat, and wild fish, and super expensive whey protein powders that have been specially lab tested. And it's really easy to, and eggs right now are so expensive. It's really easy to get caught up in thinking we have to be spending tons of money on this stuff. And yes, I do believe that high quality food is worth the cost, but we also have to be realistic, right? So things like soups and stews and chilies can be super budget friendly. For those who like a little bit more of like a snacky vibe for lunch, something like a cottage cheese power bowl, maybe we'll call it. I love how like in the like the early aughts, like the Power Bowl became a thing. Maybe it was even a thing before that, but um, but yeah, it makes you feel powerful when you're eating like a well-balanced meal, right? But so for if you're gonna do like a cottage cheese Power Bowl, I would say start with a cottage cheese base, and then incorporate like some cherry tomatoes and cucumber. You could add some maybe some pumpkin seeds or some. I had a client who would do like walnuts a lot. Little drizzle. I can't stop. It's damn cold. Little drizzle of like balsamic glaze, maybe a little olive oil. Um, and you could serve that with some whole grain crackers if you wanted to. I love the combo of Wassa crackers and cottage cheese. There's like something about that texture combo. Here we go again. It's like super satisfying to me. So you could definitely do something like that, or toast. That's also an option. Or put it in a pita. That can also be really nice. So yeah, cottage cheese is super versatile. It doesn't have to be just for sweet things. Um, and then an open face sandwich can also be a cool vehicle for nutrient dense foods. Now, I'm sure you're not sitting home thinking like, oh, I should be eating nutrient dense foods. Like that's a very dietitian term. I totally get that. But what I mean is like I always encourage my clients to be thinking like, how can I pack in a lot of these foods that are going to nourish me and make me feel good and give me what I need? So for like an open faced sandwich, maybe you do a slice of like whole grain bread or rye bread. So I love sprouted grain bread, and top that with a little mashed avocado, some canned salmon or tuna, some microgreens. I can't talk today, you guys. This is so embarrassing. Maybe squeeze a lemon on there, and I like to add a side salad. It makes me feel like I'm in a restaurant. Um, so those are a few things that you can make kind of in the moment. So let's talk about meal prep, right? And this does not have to be fancy. You don't have to do an assembly line of all the same food, but I will say having a few things prepped for the week ahead can be really convenient and really simplify things for you. So I love like a good mason jar salad where you just layer maybe like some shredded chicken. If you want to add like some quinoa or whole grains, some cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, olives, feta, whatever greens you want. And keep the dressing on the side though. I do recommend that. And then you add the dressing right before you're eating, shake it up, pour it into a bowl, and you're good to go. I also love a good sheet pan meal. This is probably what I do the most of the time in my life. I like the kitchen equipment that gets utilized the most in my house, probably the blender and then the sheet pans. I use them almost every day. So I love doing like roasted like tempeh or chicken. So I might do like I'll cube some chicken or some tempeh or tofu or occasionally like some other protein and then add some veggies, like maybe like some Brussels sprouts or some broccoli, peppers, red onions. I'm obsessed with red onions right now. And you drizzle it with some olive oil and roast it. And then you can portion it out into like little containers if you make a batch for a few days. And I love doing like a lemon tahini dressing that's super easy to whip up with like just some lemon juice, olive oil, tahini, some spices. I like adding miso in there for a little extra savory note. And so the sheet pan stuff, I love it because you do have to do some chopping, or you can buy stuff pre-chopped. And then really most of the work happens as it's in the oven cooking, which is a beautiful thing because while it's doing its 25 minutes at 400 or so, you can go do something else. It's lovely. You could also do something like egg muffins. So I really like to do like I make these in the blender most often where you'll take like eggs, like some like eggs, cottage cheese, vegetables. You can add other ingredients in there if you want, and then pour into muffin tins and bake. And they're like a great little like high protein bite. Um, but just FYI, like one is not a full serving. I'm sorry. Like it drives me freaking nuts when I see someone being like, I made these high protein egg bites, and it's like if we were to really do the math, it's maybe like 6, 7 grams of protein per bite. So yeah, you need a lot of bites to like get to that like 20 to 30 grams per meal. And that's fine. It is okay to eat more than one piece of something. I just want to normalize that, okay? Um, like eat enough. Like this is what I'm trying to say. Like eating enough is good. You don't have to stick to just like one little tiny egg bite. If I'm eating egg bites, whether they're homemade or whether I'm purchasing one that's already made, I have no relationship with this company, but I am obsessed with veggies made great. I tried them at a conference a number of years ago and I've been buying them ever since. They have some great products in that category. So I might often do that with like some vegetables on the side or some like avocado toast or something like that. I love the slow cooker for meal prepping. So something like a slow cooker, like lentil and chicken stew, where you're adding like tomatoes and chicken and spices. And I like to serve that with cauliflower rice to sneak in extra vegetables. So you can make that, you can add that at the same time. You can make that separately, but it's super delicious and so great. Um, and so easy. The slow cooker is such a beautiful thing, right? Because it's like you you set it all up and then you walk away for many hours and then you come back and food is made for you. And I know that I often will recommend limiting red meat to about once a week as a goal for women, but and that's with anybody honestly, with an eye towards cancer risk reduction and reducing risk of heart disease. But a little bit of lean red meat, whether it's like beef, lamb, pork, I think can have its place. And honestly, depending what phase of life you're in, I find for myself, like during, like right before my period and then like during and or right after, like that's a time I might find myself really craving red meat. Like I'm just thinking about it all the time. And that's always a sign for me that I should have some. So I find the slow cooker is wonderful for making things like lamb stew or pot roast or things of that nature. Like, and these things are also going to freeze well too. So if if you're cooking for one, which I cooked for one for like 10 years before I got married, the freezer is your best friend. Like if you make a batch of something that you really only want to eat it once or twice in that week, freeze leftovers. It's a beautiful thing. Saves you so much time, money, and energy. And future you will be really happy that you stashed a few servings of whatever it is in the freezer. And then another meal prep friendly idea. I love doing like a little snack box. This is gold for my clients who have had that tendency to skip lunch or just kind of snack their way through the afternoon because they're like on back to back calls. So you can actually make yourself like little snack boxes. Like I don't know if you've ever been to like Starbucks or similar coffee chains and they have those protein boxes or like on airplanes they have that too where there's like some cheese and there's hard boiled eggs and there's peanut butter and nuts and I like to change it up a little bit, and I'll recommend maybe you add like again, I love hard-boiled eggs and cottage cheese isn't a convenient thing or nut butter. I would say add some veggies, so like raw veggies. Nuts also you can add, or you could do like little single serve packets of hummus, or do like a little bento box where you put hummus in there or guacamole. Some whole grain crackers fit in nicely if you want something sweet, like maybe some fruit, like some berries or grapes in there, or sliced apples, things like that. But the snack boxes are awesome because you can graze on it through the afternoon if sitting and eating a full meal just doesn't work for your schedule or your taste or your meal experience preferences. I don't know what you would call that. So that's just a few ideas for some meal prep friendly, high protein lunch ideas. And then let's talk about the grab and go. Because when I on my Substack recently, not recently, but I guess a few months ago, I shared some tips for like what to pack for lunches, and I got some feedback from a few people actually saying, well, what about those of us who can't bring food with us? Like maybe we're already like lugging a ton of equipment. Like I have a lot of friends who are in the beverage industry and who are having to go from like bar to bar, restaurant to restaurant, and they've got like they're carrying tons of bottles or people who are commuting and they just don't want to be like lugging tons of food on public transportation with them because it's heavy and annoying. Like, yeah, I was like, I should share things for them too. Because for some people, the reality is that it just makes more time, it makes more time, makes more sense to buy things on the go. So I here's a few things I would encourage looking for if you're on the go and like need something you can grab, like in a convenience store, like a place that serves like ready to eat or things that are just quick to order. So something like a wrap, I'm not the biggest fan of wraps, but I know that they are really convenient. The reason I'm not the hugest fan is they can provide a lot more carbs than we may be aware of, and for some people that's fine. But I will say, for those who are not as active or, in a phase of life where we're needing to be more mindful of like having more protein, more fiber, more healthy fats, but maybe slightly smaller portions of carbs, just to be aware that sometimes it can be like it sounds healthy, but it might be like a really huge wrap. So just to, keep that in mind. But stuff with like grilled chicken and hummus and shredded veggies and greens, like that is really easy to take with you. And you can also do that on like whole grain bread. So if you're at a deli, that's something that you could consider as a sandwich option. Something you can take with you, and you can buy this, but I think it is a little easier to just like DIY. Chia pudding is super convenient. So if you're mixing, I like to do 3 tablespoons of chia seeds with some whatever kind of milk, like unsweetened milk you like. I like to add protein powder to mine. You could instead add some protein rich, like plain Greek yogurt. Things like I love adding cocoa powder, different spices. You could add berries and nuts after it's kind of soaked through. Soaked through, is that the right word? Like I would say, let it soak overnight, and then but when you're ready to eat, add some fruit, add some nuts or some nut butter. It's a super easy, convenient meal. If you want to sneak in a little veggies, technically, okay, botanically speaking, it's a fruit, but like nutritionally, it's more in line with vegetables. Pumpkin puree, super convenient for that. So big fan, and I like the texture in chia pudding. Hard-boiled eggs. That's actually something that's pretty easy to find in a convenience store or a deli. So if you do like hard-boiled eggs with like a piece of fruit, or if you can find like some um, crackers or uh, sliced vegetables and hummus, that's super convenient. You could do hard-boiled eggs and like some like a lentil soup or something like that. Um, Smoothies can be convenient. I would just be mindful of sugar content. So, I would look for something where there's a lot of greens happening and unsweetened milk. Not overboard on the fruit, just to be mindful. Like sometimes if it's, if there's like juice and bananas and berries, like that's probably going to be overkill. So I would go for an unsweetened milk, a little, like some greens for sure. Up to about a cup of fruit is a good ballpark. And then make sure there's some protein happening, whether that's like plain yogurt or protein powder. So if you're doing like, I find like I have some clients that really like doing like sushi rolls. So that can be one way to get some protein. But just to be mindful, sometimes sushi rice is like really high in sugar. So I might recommend like a Naruto roll or like sashimi and then do some edamame on the side or a salad with that. Um, things like chili, also super convenient. So like soups, chilies, that kind of stuff. Again, keeping an eye towards the stuff with a lot of protein. And if you have the option to add a salad, you're probably tired of me hearing you recommending salad, but they're just easy and convenient. So yeah, those are just a few options. And if you're another thing too, like I think we can also think beyond just like, soup, salad, sandwich. There's more and more options now where you can get like a piece of lean protein, like some chicken or fish and a vegetable and a starch. Like, so if you're somewhere where those are options, I would look for something where you can get like maybe a base of greens or some broccoli or other green vegetable, some kind of protein like some chicken or fish or beans or something vegetarian or and then maybe some healthy fat like a lot of places now, you can get like hummus or guacamole. I maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but like if I'm traveling or I'm on the go, like I freaking love places like Chipotle because like it's so easy to make a healthy bowl. It's like if I was at a conference recently and the food was not very good and super expensive, but there were like three Chipotles in walking distance. I was like, well, this is easy. So like I think like 2 or 3 different days while I was there, I had like a salad with like the fajita veggies, and I had like one day I had chicken, another I had beef, I think I tried their plant-based option. It was okay. And then some guacamole, and it was just like so satisfying. It checked all the boxes, made my nutritionist heart happy. Or places like Cava, which are more of a Mediterranean, Middle Eastern bent. Also, no, we're not going to talk about politics on this podcast, but Chick-fil-A also has some really good healthy options. I've definitely done like the side salad and grilled nuggets when I've been traveling, again, for like conferences or in an airport. So on a road trip, like that stuff is great too. I also have a soft spot for Wendy's chili. I know it's beef, and there's gonna be people like coming at me for like recommending fast food. But if you are in a situation where like that's what's available, you could do a lot worse. So I just wanted to share some things to be more inclusive, not just like you don't have to be at a Whole Foods or like an Erewhon or like at some fancy food court where they have all organic everything. Like in real life, you have options. So I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for being here with me. I could talk about lunch all day, but I know you have things to do. I have things to do. So thank you so much for being here. If you want more of this kind of content, I highly encourage you to sign up for my Substack, Jessica Cording. So jessicacording.substack.com. You can get access to my free WTF to Eat newsletter that I send out each week, where I share tips for all different types of scenarios where you want to know what the F to eat. And I also share other things in there too to help you, feel great, look great. And yeah, so I'll pop a link in the show notes, but you can find me jessicacording.substack.com, and please feel free to connect with me on social media. I'm on Instagram and technically TikTok at Jess Cording. I'm on Facebook, Jessica Cording Nutrition. Love to hear from you. So yeah, and if you like what you hear, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple, because they do matter and help me continue to bring you helpful content. And just a little disclaimer, the legal language. Yes, I am a dietitian and health coach, Pilates instructor, but I am not your dietitian, health coach, or Pilates instructor. So any information that I share on this podcast is meant for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only, and is not intended to replace individual counseling from a licensed provider. So as always, guys, have a wonderful day. We'll talk soon.